Hi, I'm Anita Sherman, Community Editor here at the Fauquier Times, and we have a very interesting guest today. Before we quite get into it, I'm going to hold up one of these because my daughter had one of these when she was growing up, and now my granddaughters have one. And these My Little Ponies have quite a legacy, but maybe not a lot of folks know that the creator of My Little Pony lives right here in Warrenton, Bonnie Zacherle. Hi, welcome.
Hello, Anita.
So tell us a little bit how this all got started.
Well, way back about 35 years ago, I was a toy designer for Hasbro toys.
Mm-hmm.
And every year we would have to come up with new ideas. And I was there for about 5 years. Every year I presented an idea of a small miniature horse that a little girl or boy could play with, and then it had rooted hair, and it looked like a real pony. It was soft and cuddly, and they could play with it like a doll. I presented this about two at least times, maybe 3 times, and it was shot down quite a bit. And then one year my boss's boss decided he would have his own blue sky group. That means, thinking of new ideas. So the guy that was working for him was a designer, but he was male, and all the industrial designers that were men, they always loved drawing cars, but they weren't so much into horses. So he said, Bonnie, I know this is your idea, but my boss wants me to present this idea a little bit differently, but I can't draw horses, so would you draw it up for me? So I did, and his boss, my boss's boss, presented it as his own, and it was about this big, and it was hard plastic, and had a blinking eye, and the ear wiggled, and I'm like... And it was very hard, and he thought that children were going to take that to bed like a teddy bear. I thought, no, that's not going to work, but I drew it anyway. So my boss's boss took it home to his wife, who was very thoughtful, and she said, this is okay, but, children really would prefer something that's smaller that they can take around.
Sure, they can manipulate.
And it should be about this size and, played with like a doll. So my boss's boss came back to me and he said, Bonnie, I want you to replicate this just as it is, only shrink it and make it soft, final, with the rooted hair.
So going back to what you had pretty much conceived.
That's what, exactly. But he didn't know that. He thought it was his wife's idea. So I drew it up just as he said, and the reason it's very static in the original, and this is one of the original ones I did. This is hand-rooted and one-of-a-kind prototype, and as you can see, it's in natural color. And the reason it stands on all 4 feet is because the large one would have fallen over if it hadn't been like this. So I did it. Anyway, and I thought they were great. There was a black one, a palomino, a pinto, a dapple gray, all natural colors. So a friend of mine who was my marketing director came to me in my office, or cube as it was, and said, Bonnie, what do you think of pink and purple? I said, get out of my office. The thought as a child who loved horses, it was like the last thing on my mind was to make them pink and purple. She said, little girls love pink and purple. I said, I don't care. And she said, well, why don't we test it? And I could be that nasty to her because she was a friend. But I said, go ahead, test it. And the rest, as they say, is history.
The rest is history.
For sure.
And since then, thousands of these in thousands of homes across the country. And I understand little subgroups of folks that follow, even some young men. What is it? The
bronies.
The bronies.
And that came about because of a television show,
Right.
which was, I don't know when they started it, but it was a very nice, sweet television show that had a moral storyline behind it.
A lot of guys picked up on it.
And a lot of guys, even guys over in Afghanistan.
Right.
I had one guy say, "Pony saved my life." And I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me,
Yeah,
really?"
but this is amazing.
But it was a nice, happy story with, good morals.
And since you were a designer with Hasbro or whatever, I'm sure that you're not sitting in a mansion on royalties with these.
No, they gave me $1 whole
Oh, come on.
to sign the patent. And I did that, and that's all I've received.
Oh, it's wonderful.
the
It's wonderful.
toy.
But what a legacy. What a legacy to have all the herds of ponies.
Yeah.
Let's touch quickly on this, and then this
This has been released.
is a 35-year.
Right. This was sold this year at Target, which I was happy to see, but they sold out quickly. So you may find them on Amazon
And
or
one
something.
quick thing, because I know
Sure.
this is Mr. Potato Head. Did
Yeah,
you have
I
something to
also
do with
worked
it?
on him at the same time as I did ponies.
Okay.
The redesign. They've since redesigned my redesign, but he's basically the same.
Oh, this is wonderful. And to think you're right here in Warrenton. This is great. I'd like to share with our viewers out there that upon request, Bonnie will gladly come to your little girls or little boys party or to other groups to discuss.
Sure. I've done schools, and I did some at the library this year, which was very nice.
Okay.
Presentations.
All right. Well, thank you.
And
No, go
this
ahead.
is a book that I published, and it's actually the story, just as I've said, about the background of My Little Pony.
Oh.
And it was a presentation I used to show, and now it's in book form.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for joining us. This is a continuing series in our Community Connections chat, so stay tuned for the next one.